So this week there was a an embargo. It looks like it anyway. A preview embargo for Dragon's Dogma 2,
Mm.
and a bunch of people had access to the game, took capture, and the general response seems to have been quite positive. And I think it is, regardless of what we're about to discuss, still one of the most eagerly awaited games of the year, and it does look terrific. I think it was IGN that actually did some frame rate analysis of it, which did confirm that it is running unlocked, that there is basically a performance target in the region of 30 frames per second, but there are not going to be any graphics modes for it. Before we crack on with that particular discussion, John, what did you think of the actual game?
Oh, I mean, I wasn't part of the preview, but I
Yeah,
have played
based
it.
on the assets
I
we saw.
based on the assets and having played an hour of it at TGS. I mean, it looks awesome. I mean, I like Dragon's Dogma, and this seems to be a successful follow up to that with a lot of big improvements on the way. It still has they still know how to do them big old monsters that you can run around on, and just like creating this epic feel of going across the world. Everything about it's looking excellent so far. I think I've said it before, but I still love how they handle nighttime in this series, where when the sun sets, it's dark, like completely pitch black dark. When you're in the forest, you basically can see nothing. You have to create your own lights, and it's amazing how transformative that is. Like this, because time of day usually is just like, now one here the sky's blue, now it's orange, now it's like a darker shade of blue, and your like
Right.
navigation, the way you tackle the world does not change at all. You're fundamentally
Yeah,
doing the
no,
same
it
stuff,
doesn't.
right? Here it's like it gets so dark that you actually run the risk of like falling off cliffs and like getting stuck, not being able to find your way, and it changes how you play the game because you need to take night into consideration, and I think that's super cool. So uh, I am looking forward to spending more time with it, um, and I'm excited that it seems the game itself seems to have turned out really excellent. But then
Agreed.
Okay,
there's the
but
frame rate stuff. I talked
Yeah.
about this as well when I played it at TGS, and I brought this up to Capcom at the time. Not that I thought that they would necessarily heed my warnings on this or anything, but I felt that they should provide an optional optional frame rate cap to 30 frames per second for the consoles, because currently they allow the game to run completely uncapped. The problem is that it does dip below 30, which isn't great, but it also mostly hovers right around 30. So you get that 30 to 35 FPS zone. That's not good
yeah,
looking. That does not look good on most TVs. When you're just V-synced and running around, it's just like this kind of juddery mess that makes the game look less fluid than it should. Uh, if you have a VRR capable TV, this can be solved on Xbox without the developer doing anything else, because it will do 120 hertz output with VRR, and the VRR has like it's a system level low frame rate compensation. So it will actually handle this, and it'll look totally fine on Xbox, similar to how Elden Ring's quality mode worked, I would say. Uh, but PS5 owners, unless Capcom will need to have implemented an actual 120 hertz output VRR mode into this game, which they've done before, by the way, so there is a chance. But without that, though, you're stuck. The default VRR
when
can't
did they
handle
do
it.
it?
DMC five.
Devil May Cry 5 got a
Yeah.
patch
Right. Oh, okay.
for that. So,
Yeah, but that was
uh,
targeting high frame rate though. It wasn't a low frame rate compensation idea, was it? Right?
it was targeting high frame rates, which is my
Yeah.
concern. But hopefully, Capcom, if you're listening to this, 120 hertz output mode, like enable the proper the VRR frame rate compensation. It exists. You can do it on PS5. You just got to do it yourself versus the Xbox, where the system handles it instead.
Okay.
So
Hmm.
I just think it's for a lot of users, the game's going to end up looking less fluid than it should. And I understand allowing the frame rate uncapped because it's good for future machines like a PS5 Pro, for instance. But having the option to cap at 30, I think, makes a lot of
Yeah.
sense in this
But
case.
that's totally not why they do it though. Like
No,
they have unlocked frame rates all the time on machines that don't have forward compatibility necessarily in the like strictest sense of the word. Like their PS4 version or Xbox One version of Resident Evil, whatever,
like 4.
they're like awful
It's just
no
all over
man
the
land
place.
frame rates. And here, I actually would go a step further. I would say they need to drop the resolution of the game.
Yeah.
The preview
It's too
footage
high.
showed like extremely basic combat dropping to like 25 FPS.
Not
And there's
acceptable.
probably huge monsters that you throw out tons of flames and stuff in this game, right? Like, there's no way that's hitting 30. The game is probably targeting, based upon the engine presentations and their previous games, 2160p checkerboarding on the current gen machines.
Non-dynamic.
Non-dynamic, probably. Like, that is obviously far too high res for what they're doing, so they should drop it lower to achieve at least a bottom level 30 FPS. I doubt it's CPU limited to below 30 FPS. That'd be extremely rare for this generation of consoles. I can't really think of many games that had that issue ever, other than stutters. And yeah, then you ensure a better experience for your PS5. Who knows what the Xbox Series X version is going to be like at the moment. But you at least give them a baseline better experience, and then just offer a high res mode for future consoles. Like, they've done it before. Why not do it again? It feels very, I have no idea what the technical decision making was there, but I think it's just rooted in like false assumptions. And because I don't think anyone reacted positively to this news.
Nope.
Nope.
Oh,
No, not
I
particularly.
hope they didn't like look at the original game and think, man, we should duplicate that experience. Because I don't know if you remember, but on PS3, this thing would drop to like, the original would drop to like 15 FPS or worse often. The game was notorious for having a frame rate that was largely below 30 FPS pretty much all the time. It was very choppy. And yet people love the game. So like, yeah, we must make with a German accent, of course.
They suddenly turned German.
We must make this
Yeah.
accurate to the PS3 experience that everyone knows and loves.
I've just been reviewing the Dark Arisen version. It looks as though PS4 did get a frame rate cap to 30, but there are issues elsewhere, and there are frame drops, a lot of them on Switch by the look of it, which you'd expect, I guess.
Yeah.
So I don't quite see the logic for that. I don't see the option. I don't see the issue of not having an option, which is just kind of weird. But there we are.
Have we seen a single Reach for the Moon game with an actual 30 FPS cap that works and is properly paced?
I can't even think of one, John. I really can't. I'm sorry.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure it exists. They may have capped some version of some game, like on Xbox One or something, to 30, and possibly with incorrect frame pacing. Somewhere in my memory, I'm remembering this, but I feel like by and large, these games that they release on this engine are uncapped.
Yeah, but
Okay.
for no good reason.
Yeah. I mean, Illusion's done patches for the PlayStation 4 version of Resident Evil 4 that gives a consistent 30 FPS cap. But it can be done, but that is just using a Sony system level library. Okay, I guess we just need to wait and see how this is all going to turn out. But it does look as though they're set on not having any graphics modes and uncapping the frame rate for whatever reason.
Yeah. One little shout out to our audience. I'm going to be covering Horizon Forbidden West on PC. This game releases day and date, I think, with that game.
Really?
Or maybe the
Okay.
day after. I can't recall. I think they're releasing very close to one another, so I won't have Dragon's Dogma 2 coverage on PC. I'm worried, though, like with all their other ports, that they do some bad things along with the good. They always have like a kind of really mixed port. Like, it's generally good in a lot of ways, but then it like misses the mark completely in others. Here, though, for the first time ever, they're releasing DLSS. Like,
Really?
with a big game. It's a DLSS game. Yeah, it is.
Wow.
That's
Wait, what?
awesome. Yeah,
Dude,
they're not using
a hushed
FSR.
awe.
Hushed awe, yeah, like, my gosh. So finally, like, because this engine has almost never had good image quality on PC without cranking up the resolution to ungodly levels. So, because FSR2 didn't do it, neither did whatever they do or don't do for TAA. So we'll at least get DLSS, and I believe DLAA. I'm pretty sure FSR2 is going to be there. I don't recall if frame gen's there at launch. I don't know.
Okay, well, we'll take what we'll get.
That's a sad state, but yeah, sure. Yeah,
Well, DLSS is a big thing.
yeah, it is a big thing, but
For some reason, it just wasn't a thing up until now.
yeah, whatever that's about. Read into it if you
Well,
will.
I think didn't Monster Hunter Rise have DLSS?
Yeah, and yeah, we've talked about that before. Monster Hunter World also had DLSS 1.0, which is very odd.
Okie doke.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.